Hey!
Hi, showstoppers!
Hey, everybody.
How's it going? How's your day? I hope you're listening to this in a very healthy mental space.
I hope that you've done something nice for yourself this morning. I hope you made a considerate breakfast for yourself with plenty of nutrients and antioxidants to fight. Hey, breakfast is good, huh? All right.
Breakfast is delicious. And if you're having dinner, good for you.
I've been known to have a dinner or two myself.
I like lunch.
Couldn't get enough of the stuff personally. Jesse, what's your go-to sandwich order? Say you find yourself at an average deli. It's midday. You want something substantive, something filling, but nothing going to weigh you down the rest of the day. What do you go for, bud?
So I'm definitely an Italian sub kind of gal. I love
Okay.
all the meats. Just pour it on there. Give it salamis, mortadellas, prosciutto, whatever you
Give me
got.
the
Pop it on a
salam prosciutto. I want a salt vinegar bomb halfway through my day. Thank you.
Yes. And then if I'm feeling something a little bit lighter, I will go for a tuna salad sandwich.
Lovely choice. Love
How
a tuna
about
salad.
yourself?
I've always been a tuna salad person. Love a nice, not so much tuna melt, though that's a wonderful sandwich. I don't think of that as a light option anymore. You've suddenly added a bunch of fat to it, but I've been on a real BLT kick the last, I don't know, decade or so.
I love BLT.
BLT is perfect. It's really easy to mess up, but it's light. It's just enough, like, whatever. It's just the perfectly balanced sandwich. And if I do a salty vinegar bomb, put those chips on the side, baby boy. Give me a BLT, some salt and vinegar kettle chips. I'm living.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I have been craving a BLT the last 2 weekends, and I haven't gotten it either weekend.
Well, that's okay. Well, I think we're only supposed to eat those in like August, September every year because that's actual tomato season. But if you follow your bliss wherever it takes you, bud, get that sandwich.
I really wanted a BLT.
Were you expecting one in the course of this recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially now that we started talking about it, I expect nothing less.
Well, I'll get on the horn with my guys, see what we can pull together real quick.
Orders delivery for Jesse during the podcast meeting.
If Jesse is totally zoned out at any point in the recording, just know if I finish a point and it takes like 3 minutes for her to jump in, I'll just know that she's on Seamless right now. It's fine.
Yes, I'm ordering my BLT. Delicious. Wait, you had like an epiphany a second ago.
Did I?
You went,
No, that's just me breathing, bud.
oh, no,
No.
you had like a moment where you were
Did
like,
I?
I'm thinking of something.
Oh, I was
Like,
just probably,
and then
I was just probably just like in a fugue state, recalling my past sandwiches in my history.
You just thought of a really delicious sandwich you had on a Wednesday and were like,
Yeah, let's just say like I was recalling the existence of the divine banh mi and thinking of a beautiful Vietnamese sandwich. Let's say it was that. Corey suddenly recalled the sandwich type and went into a complete sublime state of recollection.
100%. Well, we talked about, or we are reviewing. We're back on track of our top 5 movie series.
Yeah. Back to the regularly scheduled programming at this point. That's right.
We spent some time talking about the Oscars. Then we talked about some movies that we talked about when we thought we were going to watch them. And now we're back.
There you go.
And this week was my pick.
That's right.
Are we ready to just do this? Are we ready to talk about it?
Honestly, I think we're going to uncover a lot of stuff. I think there's some ground to cover here, pal.
I
Weirdly,
think so too.
when I was considering this yesterday, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this thing. And obviously, we've seen it a million times. It's ingrained in us. It's in our DNA as moviegoers. What are we even going to talk about, however? But as soon as I fired that bad boy up, it's like, oh, get ready. Oh, I got so much stuff I want to talk about. Okay, so yes, Jesse, I am very ready.
This movie is so very good. It's so good. And so just like full of memories for little Jesse. But this week we're talking about the one, the only, the Wizard of Oz. And not the Wonderful Wizard of Oz, because that's the book. We're talking about The Wizard of Oz, and that's the movie made by MGM Studios.
That's right. 1939, the motion pictures. A nation on the brink of war.
If you watched Mank, this movie came out right before that.
Yeah. It came out right before 2020's David Fincher original motion picture, Mank. Long delayed. We're talking about The Wizard of Oz today, bud.
Yes, I love this movie so much. I definitely have not watched this movie in a very long time. Like, I can't remember the last time I watched
couldn't
The Wizard
either.
of Oz.
Yeah.
But I was so happy to have an opportunity to watch it because I finished it actually on my subway ride home, and at the end I was like, I'm fine. I'm like wiping away my tears. I was like, oh no, I didn't realize this would happen.
Was it the very last line reading from her, from
Yes.
Judy Garland at the very, very end? Because that got me too. It's like, it flipped the switch on me and I'm crying, and then the end. It was like, God damn it. God damn
And it was
it.
so abrupt, and all of the credits had come at the beginning, so it was just
Yes.
over. Like, HBO Max was like, it's done.
It's like,
You're done now.
Customers who watch this also like 42nd Street. I was like, I'm not ready yet. Leave me alone.
It was very abrupt, but it was so good. That line at the end, oh my goodness. So I will, I guess, start us off by saying why this is my favorite movie of all time,
Please do.
or one of the
It
top
made the
5.
list. Yeah.
So this movie was introduced to me by my Nona, Esther Barsner, who is my mom's mom. And she and I would watch this movie at her house. And
Right.
when I was younger, she lived in 2 places. She lived in like her house, and then when she got a little bit older and didn't want to take care of a bigger house, she was
Good
like,
for
I'm
her.
gonna go to an apartment. And so I remember more of the apartment times. And so we would sit in these 2 chairs. She had these 2 recliners that like literally had the handle that you push back, and
Hell
then
yeah.
the seats, the feet rest came up.
Lots of very
and it leaned
fond
you
memories
back.
of those lazy boys. Absolutely.
Yeah. So my grandfather had passed at this point, so it was like one for grandma, one for me.
Jesse's got a chair. All right, coming up in the world.
And so we'd flip our footrest up and we'd turn on The Wizard of Oz. And
Hell
then
yeah.
at some point, my grandma would make me some shake and bake chicken.
Hell yes.
But this movie, I like this and Cats were the musical were the 2 movies that I watched at my grandmother's house. Certainly The Wizard of Oz more so because I loved it. And I was Dorothy like 15 times for Halloween.
It's an easy one to throw together. If you stay
yeah.
around the same size for a few years straight, then that's one dress, bud.
You're pretty
You invest
golden.
one time, you're good to go.
If our listeners are lucky, I'll post a picture of little Dorothy on the old Instagram account. This movie just resonates in my memory as my time with my grandma. And so that is the reason why this will always remain. I think this is the movie that's been on my top 5 my whole life. Like if
Right.
there was one movie that's been there this whole time since I was very small and was old enough to understand what a movie was,
Right.
this was the movie. And it's a classic. You
Yeah.
watch this and it's still like cathartic and full of just emotion, but also just absolute silliness. And it's based on a book, or it's based on a novel.
That's right.
By Frank Baum, which came out in 1900. That's when this book
Happy New
came out.
Year.
And this movie was adapted into a film in 1939, a mere 40 years later.
Which is why we get that little card at the very beginning of the movie, the introduction, like, time has not managed to ravage the youthful enthusiasm of this eternal story or some shit like that, which I'm sure made a lot of sense in the context of the day, but I had completely forgotten about that.
And, I was wondering, was that added after the fact? Like, did this movie come out and was out for a few years and then that was added? But it wasn't. It's actually had been there the whole time.
Happened there the whole time, I think, because it's in reference to the book itself, and I think this has also been a stage play for a really long time at that point. This is like a universally known story at that point. It's a known quantity.
Yeah, which, by the way, I found out that the guy who played the Scarecrow was originally cast as the Tin Man or something.
Right.
And then he was like, no, I want to be the Scarecrow because a buddy of mine originated the Scarecrow role in the play.
That's so
and so
cool.
that's the role that I want to play.
I want to find out if I can do it better. Fuck that guy.
But then ironically, so then the guy said, "Okay, I'll switch roles with you. I'll be the Tin Man." And this poor actor who said, "Yeah, I'll switch roles with you," then like couldn't wear the freaking costume because they literally were putting a full on aluminum on him, and he was like, "I'm allergic to this and I could die," and he had to be like taken to the hospital off of set one day because he couldn't breathe anymore, and he was then like replaced with another actor. That's even though he was nice enough to switch roles with this other guy. Like, that sucks, dude. All of that sucks.
That's a real, like, who was the third astronaut on the lunar mission on Apollo 12, like, who never got to go outside. Sure is a super decent guy, but like pulling that straw sucks so bad because you have to, like, it's the most famous movie ever made, and it was through the rest of that guy's life, and he had to constantly think about, I could wear straw. I can wear.
I can do that.
Put the straw on me.
What a dummy.
Poor guy.
But I just think there's lots of little stories like that with this movie. But this movie is a classic, and it's my favorite. Dorothy, little Dorothy, forever. Also, big fan of Scarecrow. Like, I think there was a moment when I was younger where I was like, oh, I have a crush on him.
Oh, there you go. He's doing a lot of like body movements that you've never seen outside of this movie. That makes sense. Like if you were a tiny child seeing this man who's made of spaghetti flopping around on the ground and doing flips and stuff and singing very charming songs, that makes sense. Yeah, that checks out.
Yes. And Dorothy and he have like a little thing. Like they have like a little. You can see it. It.
That's a product of its time, I think. I think a lot of ink has been used telling the story of poor Judy Garland and her treatment historically by men in Hollywood. But also, she's portraying like an 11-year-old. And I think that's the kind of thing that might insinuate back in 39 that may not float now.
Yeah, but it's there and nobody cares. And I love it.
And this is an important building block of your enjoyment of the movie. I won't take that away from you.
No, it's so true. Poor Judy Garland. See the movie Judy. You'll learn a lot more about that time for her.
You'll learn how to negotiate for a Best Actress Oscar win. If nothing else.
Renee Zellweger really took it home.
In the performance that people still can't stop thinking about to this day, Judy Garland finally on the silver screen for the first time in half a century. The story that resonated with the hearts of millions.
Or at least the 14 white people that watched the Oscar movies that year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Rough. Anywho, I love this movie. Tell me about your thoughts about the movie, Corey.
Yeah, sure.
No, wait. Rewind. When was the first time you saw this movie?
So I was trying to think of that. I couldn't quite remember. My most resonant memory of viewing it, though, I was in 4th grade, maybe, in Central Illinois, and we had like a movie day, so they, of course, wheeled the big TV cart in, and that's the most magic feeling you can have in your life, and we just sat and watched the entire thing, and I don't know that I had ever sat through all of it before, but I knew we had it. We had it around. I think it's something my mom would put on occasionally around the house, but it was always a part of your life in a weird way, in as much as you could probably describe this movie having never seen this movie before because you've been alive in this earth for a certain amount of time. So I knew all about it, but the first time I remember like consciously sitting down and watching it with a bunch of other 4th graders was when I was also a 4th grader, mind you, in Illinois back in the day.
You weren't just sitting with random other 4th graders. It's like
no, I don't spend a ton of time with 4th graders these days. I don't have a lot of call to do so. But no, I remember really loving it. And this, what is cool to think of now is that a movie that was made like 4 days before Germany invaded Poland back in the day, it resonated like and played so well to these children. And I would imagine still does, because it's still a pretty thrilling movie watching experience because it's establishing its rules so clearly and upending them with the Technicolor transfer at a certain point. And every couple of minutes or so, you meet a new character that is extremely funny and is their own little set of tics and rules and stuff like that. So it's really good storytelling, and I've always kind of loved it, but it was a real pleasure to revisit today. Good movie, pal.
Yeah, I love that you called it out, because I think the best part about this movie is that it's just so weird and so entertaining. Like, you're kind of just watching Dorothy experience this for the first time, and you're
Yeah.
experiencing it with her. It's a dream, and they really play it as such.
Yeah.
And it makes it so beautiful and mesmerizing to look at. Even now, one of the things that struck me about this watch is, like, it's so visually appealing,
Right.
to look at as a film. When Dorothy steps into Oz, and the moment those colors change,
Incredible.
it's
Incredible.
just an amazing cinematic moment right there. And it's just a simple switch of a camera film, and it's so good.
Well, I'll do you one better on that. So that particular scene, I wanted to find out how they went about doing that.
Oh,
and apparently, for the actual scene where she leaves the house, the tornado house for the first time and enters Oz, they painted the inside of the house to be in sepia tone. So they were shooting in color, but they had designed the entire inside of the house to reflect the shooting style before. And not only that, they painted the entire back of Judy Garland also to be in sepia tone. So as she's walking out of the house,
No
she's
way.
in black and white. And then when they cut to the front of her, she's in color again. It's incredible stuff.
That is so cool.
And that's
I
the kind
love
of,
it.
I was thinking about that a lot going into watching this, in that, because I know, like, if I think about a movie audience prior to, like, 1965, I just kind of picture the apocryphal audience that watched the first movie of a train coming towards the screen and they all had heart attacks and tried to run out of the theater. That's how I have to picture people of a certain time. So picturing an audience like that, watching this for the first time, just, they must have been ripping the damn seats out of the aisles, just like going absolutely crazy haywire. Just like, what the fuck is happening? This is crazy. It must have been an incredible experience seeing this for the first time. It's so cool.
Yeah, it is so cool. I can't even imagine what seeing this, because this was also like the verge of the moment where TV and film was switching from
Right.
black and white to color. So the technology existed, but it, relatively recently so. So I imagine seeing this for the first time when like, my grandmother saw it for the first time was
Right.
pretty amazing. So seeing it through those eyes is pretty cool. And I imagine, like, when you watched it as a fourth grader, or when I saw it as like a 3-year-old, we were like, wow, this is so cool.
Right. And we
it's
were
just
probably
such a great-
both watching it on like a 25-inch CRT television, neither of us. I think eventually, like, it has been re-released every 20 years or so
Yes,
in
yeah.
theaters ever since. And I do remember us having gone to a theater to watch this at a certain point. But yeah, it still plays in the eyes of a kid watching one of, like, whatever shitty television my school had, whatever TV your grandma had, which I'm sure was lovely. Hi, Nona. But it still plays. The effect still lands, no matter how
Yes.
you're watching it.
Yeah, and I was trying to find this fact, like, about, you said it had been remade every 20 years, but there was something that said it was like the most watched movie or the most well-known film or something like that in cinematic
Right.
history.
Well, it's become that because I think The Wizard of Oz, I mean, we could go out to the street right now and ask 20 people, have you seen The Wizard of Oz? And it's
Right.
going to be at least 10, 15 people who have, it's a really weirdly widely watched movie, and people of a certain age kept getting access to it. It'd be re-released in theaters, or they'd play it on ABC once a year, and it's the biggest viewing audience for that year for that channel. It was like the Super Bowl every year. They would play that, or they'd play Saving Private Ryan or something like that. It would just be this huge viewing experience. But yeah, I mean, I think it might be harder to find someone we know who hasn't seen this or has no
Right,
cultural
right.
memory or understanding of it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just so wonderful. And so I think, yeah, I mean, I don't really know where we go with it, but I think we talk through all of these crazy moments
Let's go.
of this movie.
We have a formula at this point, buddy. I say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think you
That's
just
true.
start from the beginning and talk about things as we experience them.
But
huh?
I want to hear the Corey Damon plot summary
Okay.
of The Wizard of Oz.
Well, I'm going to give it a shot, right? So, Dorothy Gale, a young woman in rural Kansas, dreams of a life outside of the farm. And when a tornado hits her home, she and her dog Toto are transported to the magical land of Oz. To get home, she must find the great and powerful Wizard of Oz. And along her journey, she meets several friends who help her complete her journey, and she helps complete them as people along the way.
Oh. and I would only cap it off
Go ahead, please.
with and realizes that happiness can be found right inside your very own home.
Happiness is all around you. You just have to know how to look. That's right.
Oh my.
It's very sweet. So yeah, okay, so I had completely memory holed the first scene in this movie, by the way, because it's on the farm, and I know that like I knew that there was the mechanic of, and you were there, and you were there, and you, and Auntie Em, like they introduce us to our cast of characters on the farm before we go in, but I had completely forgotten that she talks to the wizard stand-in, and she, and her mean neighbor, her evil neighbor.
Very evil neighbor.
The witch, has already attempted to murder her dog.
On multiple occasions, it seems.
She keeps trying to kill that damn dog. Toto's unkillable. Great work from Toto in this movie, by the way. We'll keep
work. Toto, by the way, here's a fun fact. Toto was 3 dogs. The original dog named, I think its name was Terry. And Terry and Judy Garland had a great relationship. She tried to adopt it after the movie, but the owner wouldn't let her.
What the hell? Well, that's
no,
their money maker at that point. Yeah, I'm gonna take this kid on the road.
And apparently Terry was like a big star and made a lot of money in Hollywood and whatnot. But in this movie, Terry got stepped on, I guess, and had to get a stand-in. There were 2 additional dogs that were her. I don't know if it was a girl or boy, but were there stand-in.
That's the thing I was most scared of. Like, are we gonna have to address the death of a dog in this podcast? No, Terry was fine, a little injured. They had to go through. Some other folks got a lot less lucky throughout the process.
Yes.
But yeah, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah. So Toto got stepped on, whatever. But this is a really sad fact. You ready for this? The dog.
No. Go ahead.
The dog got paid more than the Munchkin actors.
That sounds about right. Okay, let's talk about them real quick. I will not be addressing their troupe name on this podcast because it's a word we don't use anymore. But they are listed. They're credited on IMDb as a troupe. They're not individually credited in the movie. So I would imagine that Mr. Singer, the leader of the troupe, probably collected a lot of money off their appearance in this, and they were probably paid at like scale at most to appear there. That makes sense.
I think it said like $50, not even $50 a week, maybe a week. And Toto was $150 a week or something atrocious like that.
God.
But yeah, so Singer, so their troupe name is like Singer's Troupe is where we'll call it. But
that's what they're called.
And I think a lot of people thought it was a singing troupe,
right?
Of little people, but it was
one
not.
could be forgiven for thinking that. Yes.
Yeah. And you need to research this fact to realize that this is just one person representing these people. And whatever capitalism involved there, we will not explore super deeply here because that's not what this podcast is about. But it's probably pretty not good. But anyways, much of these actors were fleeing from Germany at the time. They were Jewish, and they took this job as a means to get away from their country. And many of them didn't speak English and, started in this movie essentially to be sort of saved from Nazi Germany, which I thought was a really interesting fact.
That's incredible. That's a movie right there, as a matter of fact. I would love to see that movie at some point. And they're doing phenomenal work. They're the second magical thing we see because they're she walks out of the home and we're in Technicolor, and then she's walking along the path and we see their little heads pop up from the bushes.
She meets the Munchkins.
It's the best. And there are so many people in this next set piece before she meets the witch and all
beautiful.
that. Incredible work. And this is like, okay, we've hit the ground running. Oh, we totally skipped by, like, we can circle back, I guess, but like the best song in any movie has already happened at this point in the movie.
Oh gosh, how did we not even talk about
I don't
this?
know, like that's why. Okay, I think I was leading to that because I had memory hold the first opening stretch of the movie,
Right.
But this song is the best, and Judy Garland's performance of it is the let's call it the best performance of any song in any movie of all
Yes.
time. It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And she, you know, one of the things I appreciated about my modern day return to watch The Wizard of Oz is that her acting is so stellar. She's so good. And I think, you know, she's a little bit over the top and a little bit of 1930s Hollywood, but that's exactly what they needed her to be at that time.
Right.
And it's really nuanced and it's really beautiful. Like when she sings that song, we've all sung that song,
Yeah, of course.
in some way, shape, or form. You know, growing up and being dreamers and whatnot. You know, and understanding what or trying to figure out what we want to do with our life, and it's going to be so much better than what it is right now. You know, and it's just a beautiful song, and she sings it so well. And this is, what did they say about this? This is the #1 most recognized song from a movie ever.
Of course.
And
it's simply like the best song of a movie filled with like platinum bangers. Like the music in this movie is so good, Jesse. It's so good. Even the small like we're moving on to a new scene, but then you get the banger of like you're out of the woods, step into the light. It's one of the best songs ever in a movie. It's the best.
No wonder they made a musical or something, multiple,
but I think
about the story.
Right. I think this music was pinned for the film version of the movie, though.
Yes,
that wasn't from the stage at all. Yeah. So good job.
No, because it was a play before, and then,
That's right.
And this was the first sort of musical iteration, and then, you know, many companies went on to do it as a musical on stage, and then was born things like Wicked and The Wiz and all of these wonderful adaptions of this movie, essentially.
I've never like
adaptations, not adaptions. Sorry.
That's okay. Adapters. So I love The Wiz, by the way. I don't know Wicked very well, so if we need to reference that, I'll lean on you for that going forward. But The Wiz kicks ass. It's so good. Anyway, so hey, we're in Oz now. We have now met the Munchkins have welcomed us into Oz, and who's the next character we meet, pal? Who makes a grand entrance?
Glinda.
That's right.
The Glinda the Good Witch. And she, who is this actress? She's so great.
Oh, I'm pulling her up now. Hold up. Let's see.
What's her name?
Oh, her name is Billy Burke. Very cool name.
Burke. She has the same face the whole movie, and I love it.
No, she's like frozen in this like sublime rictus, like this blissed out like joy face the entire time. And it's really creepy. Her voice is one of my favorite voice styles of all time. She sings so beautifully. She's this like high soprano songbird lady who's like really creepy but also very kind, and like she's encouraging murder, and I think that's something they go into in Wicked at a certain point, right? She's like,
good, you killed a woman I didn't like very much.
Excellent work. Now her sister, on the other hand, she's dispatching hitmen throughout the movie, but she's very lovely. And then Dorothy gets told exactly how to solve the problem at hand. The first time I ever saw the Wicked Witch of the West's feet roll up inside the house, I had kind of created this memory in my head that was like a 30-second long sequence, and it's like this grotesque like curling of the toes and everything. That's like a split second in this movie. It's
they just go whoop, they just sort of slip right back underneath.
But that memory stayed with me forever.
And that is the Wicked Witch of the East.
Oh, Wicked
the East Witch.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. It's your movie. I shouldn't put you on that. Because I had to think about it for a second. Because I thought that she had... never mind. Don't even worry about it. A witch is now dead. A witch with incredible footwear and great stocking game got crushed by a house. And she's out of here.
Dorothy stole her shoes.
That's right. And the shoes are sought after by the witch's sister, who is from which geographic designation? Which witch is this?
The West.
Thank you. Okay, so... So she's been told that she has to go find the Wizard of Oz Oz to get transport home, but someone else is on her trail the whole time, the Wicked Witch of the West, who wants her dead sister's shoes. It's great.
Because these shoes are magical? They're powerful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Magic is ill-defined in this universe. But magic people can do basically whatever. Like shoot fireballs, they melt in water, you can travel back home across dimensions, whatever. Yeah, the shoes are magic. Who cares?
This is pre-Hogwarts era magic.
No one was insisting on a massive lore being built around the Wizard of Oz. It's fine.
Yes, exactly. And so, anyways, she gets these magic shoes and she sets off on the Yellow Brick Road, which is so mesmerizing also, by the way. Just that beautiful set where they've got those two intertwining roads. Mm-hmm. And apparently, when first filmed, the Yellow Brick Road was coming out green and it just didn't quite have the same ring to it.
Oh, I see. No, not at all. And
so
also
like,
the Yellow Brick Road,
color correcting.
L. Frank Baum had some really, like, kind of libertarian-y political ideas as a man, and he chose the Yellow Brick Road because he wanted the U.S. to go to the gold standard of currency. And it's like a little not so subtle message, a little political. That's all I know about L. Frank Baum because I heard someone else say it. But yeah, so he's making a point of like, if you follow the Yellow Brick Road, you will be safe and successful and prosperous.
Oh wow, that's fun! Yeah. I love those facts. This is really interesting. But anyways, they color corrected. They got it to yellow. All was
looks
good.
Beautiful. Looks beautiful.
Looked great.
And let's not skip past one other thing I wanted to mention before we actually leave wherever we are. Munchkinland. Thank you very much. Yeah, it does have a name, definitely. I love everything about the Munchkinland. I love all the costume designing, the hair design with those like rigid gold or orange like curly cues on bald heads. It's so beautiful. And then my favorite moment in the whole movie. Well, second, we'll get to my favorite in a moment. Okay. Remind me. But when the damn Lollipop Guild comes out.
The Lollipop Guild. The Lollipop Guild.
That's right. These tough little dudes just like throwing fists and being the fighting Irish mascots out there. They go from this wide cut on the Peppermint Guild or whoever preceded them. Nice ladies, I'm sure they're lovely. But as soon as it's time for the Lollipop Guild, they cut to a one shot right up close because our little guys come up and they're, yes, we're the Lollipop Guild. And I'm into it. I love those guys.
So good. So another fun fact about the Munchkins. So
we're never leaving Munchkinland, by the way. We're going to stay here forever.
The Munchkins are so good. Like
they're so good.
They're just like beautiful creatures of Munchkinland, and you cannot help but enjoy their presence. You're in their land, so this is your time to be with the Munchkins.
They've graciously accepted us into Munchkinland. They love Dorothy. They're grateful that she's gotten rid of the scourge of Munchkinland, the Wicked Witch of the East. She's dead. She's gone, and they sing an incredible song praising the death of this unknown villain. It's the best. Like as a kid, good. I loved that too because it's Ding Dong, the witch is dead. They're like, she's dead. You killed her. Yes!
You did a great job for us. Please come back with your spinning house soon. It's just so wonderful. I love all the songs as well in this moment. They're basically performing for her, and I love that there's a moment where they're like, but is she surely truly dead? Mm-hmm. And then the coroner comes over and is like,
with the scroll, no, she's dead. I checked.
I thoroughly checked. She is no longer alive.
No, she is crushed by a home. She is gone and buried now. Bye-bye.
Oh, such a great moment. So apparently almost all of the Munchkins required prosthetics, and there was like an intense amount of prosthetic work that had to happen on not only all of the humans of Munchkinland, but also all of the actors, like the lion, the scarecrow, the Tin Man required an intense amount of work every time they got on set. But the Munchkins, they needed to hire out. MGM was like, we need more artists to help us. So basically they got cafeteria workers, anyone who would basically volunteer, and taught them how to do one type of prosthetic. So like the ears or the nose or whatever.
Oh, that's incredible.
And they essentially created an assembly line of experts. So one of the actors who played a Munchkin might start with the person who did their ears and then move to the person who did their nose, because they were experts in that one prosthetic piece of makeup.
That rules. That rules. And that's an interesting example of the kind of production this was, because this is a weird, if you check the credits, there are 3 credited directors, there are like 6 credited screenwriters. It's all over the place. And because this was in production at the same time on the same lot, same company as Gone with the Wind. So they were just borrowing staff back and forth. They would say to them, okay, you're directing this sequence over here. We need you on lot B. Now you come back in the afternoon. We got another thing to shoot with Scarlett O'Hara. So these 2 legendary productions were not only at the same time, same company, but they were being made by the exact same people. The credited director here is the same as with Gone with the Wind.
Wow, that's insane.
Incredible stuff.
It's just like, this is the pictures. This is like, this is the movie making at its finest, though. Like, this is when Hollywood was budding and blooming, and just a totally different Hollywood than now. It's just lovely. I love it.
For good and for ill, and I would never want it to come back for all the ill it caused and how it treated people. However, buddy, name a thing more beautiful you've seen on screen than the actual production design of Munchkinland. Like
nothing.
These gorgeous matte paintings on the back, like calling out their artificiality, that's so beautiful. And then the tactile foreground with all the fake flowers and the Munchkins dancing around and that beautiful road they're standing on. It's incredible. Like nothing looks like this anymore. And I would love to see more of this in the future.
Yes. Like, how do you do a modern take on Wizard of Oz? Like, not like CGI, like we're gonna make everything look as real as possible, but like, how do you do the modern take of we're acknowledging this is fake, but also we're playing in that? I don't know that, like, it'd be interesting to revisit.
Well, I think first of all, you don't like if they thought that could be any kind of winning strategy, it would have happened by now. And they made kind of a unacknowledged sequel to this, Return to Oz, a few years later, and then they had the Sam Raimi movie, Oz the Great and Powerful, which is quite bad. So I think a couple of people have taken a run at it, but the answer is you don't. This is a product of its time, and it's like this magic crystal that you can't make better. It's just, it is what it is.
So Dorothy ventures down the Yellow Brick Road, and she meets my favorite character.
Your boyfriend.
My boyfriend, the Scarecrow. Played by Ray Bolger.
There we go.
Playing Hunk. So Hunk is the guy from the beginning, and turned into the Scarecrow. And all he needs are some brains. Oh gosh, this song. If I only had a brain. And he does all of these like weird, crazy moves because he is a flimsy little scarecrow. Oh gosh, I just love it. An
incredible physical performance, yeah.
An incredible physical performance. And, I think it's just such a great little bonding moment for Dorothy, meeting someone who's really like, yes, I would love to get a brain from the wizard if I come along with you. But then also, all of their journeys really turn into just supporting their friend who's trying to get home. And at the end, they realize, well, gosh, I'm jumping ahead so far. But just sort of like, it's all of these are sort of selfless friendships, which is so lovely to witness.
Which is kind of a hallmark of like storytelling for kids. It's like you're going to have the main character kid goes on an adventure and encounter all kinds of weird like spooks and ghoulies and goblins and stuff like that. And by virtue of their like being a kid, they're like, yeah, I'll be his friend. He seems nice. Do you want to come with me on my adventure? It's so lovely. And then they call that out too, because he's like, well, I don't like, what if he can't give me a brain? And Dorothy says something to the extent of like, well, he may not, but I'd still love to be with you on this adventure. And the worst you can do is just have fun on this adventure with me. It's really lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. All you have to do is ask,
Yeah, you're right. But the relationship with the Scarecrow is kind of like the special first one. There's a reason we meet him first. He's like the bestie. Exactly.
Yeah. And they have this beautiful little moment, and then they skip along until they find the apples. And in the apples where the trees talk, in the apple orchard, they find the Tin Man.
After experiencing some scary bullshit that scared me when I was a small child, those trees are terrifying.
The trees are a little bit of...
Yeah.
Hey!
And that's the scariest thing in the world as a kid. Like, I'm going to just be going about my business, and some mean, scary adult says, stop that. You can't do that. That sucks. Fuck those trees. They slap her hand. Get out of here.
They're really mean.
I hate them.
Yeah, they're mean trees. You know, if you want an apple, go elsewhere. Don't go to these apple trees.
To be fair, she was being presumptuous. If apples are your hair or body part, I would not like some Kansas girl ripping them off of my body either. I get it. But she's not from here, bud. She doesn't know the rules.
She's not. Oh, I didn't even talk about the Kansas connection. So,
let's go for it.
My other set of grandparents lived in Kansas, and I would go every summer to visit them, and we would catch fireflies at night and do all of this amazing stuff. But like, I had this very close-knit memory and tied to Kansas as well. So this movie was just like my family represented.
Yeah, if you were raised in a fairy tale, this movie's really going to speak to you a lot, I think, on a different level than it might others. That sounds magical.
It was magical.
How much is Wizard of Oz a part of when you go to Kansas? I'm sure it varies by region or city that you're in, but how much is Wizard of Oz a part of everything in Kansas?
Oh, it's very much part of it.
It's everywhere, right?
They own that for sure. And it is part of their tourism staple. There's actually, I haven't been to Kansas in a really long time. Actually, It probably was the first year I lived in New York, which was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
There's this place called the Oz Winery, and I still get emails from them, and they claim to be in like the real spot where Dorothy would have been from, and
of course, yeah.
And they have this beautiful little winery, and they really just own this experience. It's so fun. If you ever get a chance to go to the Oz Winery, please go visit them, buy some wine, and just buy your Wizard of Oz Winery sweatshirt.
That's
and
right.
Just have a great time, please.
And at the very least, join what sounds like a very persistent but respectful email list.
Very persistent. I just unsubscribed in like the last 2 years, honestly.
Guys, I love you, but there hasn't been a tornado recently. I won't be by for
exactly. Anywho, so now we're with the Tin Man, and
That's
after
right.
the Tin Man sings about his heart, which, by the way, is a beautiful song.
Yes, it is.
Who's this guy? This guy is Hickory / the Tin Man, played by Jack Haley. He has a beautiful voice. Oh,
beautiful voice.
Although, fun fact I learned is that the voice is not his voice; it's the original Tin Man's voice.
Oh, with the guy that got sick and couldn't do it?
Yes, I think that's right.
Oh, so he got something for it. I hope he got paid for that.
They said that you hear his voice in, maybe it's not the main song. Now I'm not remembering correctly, but you can hear his voice in a couple of different parts of the movie. And I just can't remember. I'm trying to find it quickly now, but
that's fine. I was wanting to call this out as well because he has a beautiful singing voice, and
it's gorgeous.
The song he sings is a reprise of the Scarecrow song. They basically have all of them sing. All three of them sing the same song, but just like kind of fitted to their personalities and their particular needs. Lovely, lovely voice in that man. But if we find out that was not Jack Haley's voice actual singing, Jack Haley did not bring a lot to the table besides a willingness to wear that terrible costume for 12 hours a day.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So the original guy, so here it is. So, Jack Haley took over the part of the Tin Man. And this guy named Ebsen Buddy Ebsen was the original Tin Man.
Oh, that's
and he was the one who was allergic to the costume and was rushed to the hospital in a very scary moment where he could not breathe anymore because they were using aluminum dust.
Jesus.
And it coated Ebsen's lungs, like literally coated his lungs. And he had an allergic reaction to it. And so anyways, he was fine. He lived, but he couldn't play the role anymore. And Jack Haley took over. So in the meantime, they did change the aluminum. They changed it from aluminum dust to aluminum paste. So got a lot better.
As long as you take the particulates out of the air, I think it's fine. Aluminum is not a like a cancer-causing agent unless you inhale a bunch of it.
And you're allergic to it. However, his vocals, Buddy Ebsen's vocals, remain whenever the song "We're Off to See the Wizard" is played.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Jack Haley's vocals were never used during that song, but were used for "If I Only Had a Heart." So that was Jack Haley.
So all credit Jack Haley. Yeah. My apologies to the state of Jack Haley. Rest in power, King. Great voice, beautiful voice, and yeah. But I think the Tin Man had a long legacy because that is something you can act out when you're a kid. Like you can pretend you've gone rusty and someone has to bring the oil can over to you. I remember having done that. The kids are dumb, but I remember having done that on a number of occasions back in the day. But great. Good stuff, Jack Haley.
Great. I know. He did such a great job. I really loved that song more than I ever have before during this most recent watch. There was like that part where he sings about I could be more human and or at least present more human if I only had a heart. And gosh, it's just and he sings it. His beautiful voice is just so good.
I could listen to that all day. Like read me whatever you want, Jack Haley. That is beautiful stuff you're doing.
And he had a really great, he's one of them that had like a really great voice play, and he very intentionally had a different voice in the beginning scenes. So it created this sort of fantasy and continued to create this environment in Oz, which I thought
that's really
was
cool,
really lovely as well.
Absolutely. But now we got a Tin Man in the crew. We got a Robot Boy in the crew, and they immediately on the next leg of the journey they come across kind of a dark, scary woods, and they sing a song that me and my family would sing all the damn time. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my.
Oh my.
Just a great meme that also came from this movie. But then, of course, they get encountered by the best performance in the movie. We have. Hold on.
Wait, first they ran into the Wicked Witch before they found.
Oh yes, and that's where we realized that she has fireball powers. That she has Kamehameha powers. Yeah. And the Tin Man dives on the grenade for all of them, rescuing them. A very heroic act.
Yes, he does. He's very, very heroic. He just doesn't have a heart.
Nope.
And then we basically, the witch is saying like, hey, we're going to get you, like, I need these shoes. I need them quick. I got a prom coming up. I need those fancy shoes for my fancy dress, and I just really want them. That's not true. I made up that plot line. But...
if there were going to be a remake, I think we're already in the process of writing it now. So...
and anyway, so they're like, okay, scary, but let's keep going. And they meet the lion.
That's right.
Tell us, Corey, about the Cowardly Lion.
Bert Lahr comes in pitching 1,000 miles an hour. It is the best. When we were kids, we used to try to imitate his voice a lot. Like, I have no idea how he does that with his voice. It's incredible. It's like someone slapping his throat while he's also singing. But Bert Lahr comes in as the Cowardly Lion. This is an A+ VIP character in this movie. The comedy goes instantly through the roof with him. He's so great. And he is very, very scary at first.
Put him up.
That was a voice. I don't know which came first, but I think there were 20 Looney Tunes characters that had that voice going forward.
Yes,
like,
you're so right.
Always paying homage to that guy in particular. It's a great performance. He gets socked on the nose by Dorothy in a further show of her bravery, and he completely pusses out. So what you do that for?
Why'd you do that?
I just love him so much. There's not much that can be said. It's just a really funny performance. Being a coward is hilarious. Cowards are great.
Yeah, and the irony of the lion being cowardly.
There you go.
It's just so good. It's so smartly done. And fun fact about Bert's costume.
Sure.
It was made of a real lion skin.
Get out of town.
Joke. No
was it really?
Joke. Yes. And apparently it was really fucking hot to wear.
Sure. He smelled really bad all the time too. Apparently he smelled miserable on set.
And apparently Bert, like, it was so hot and, like, all the lights were on him on this crazy old school Hollywood set, and he would just sweat profusely, like, insanely. And so the costume managers would then have to work to dry out his lion skin costume for the next day, but also it's real lion skin, and a human has sweated in all day, and it was dry cleaned. You can't actually really watch it.
No.
And yeah, you can imagine the smell that ensued because of all of those factors.
I'm imagining it right now. Sounds lovely. No, that sucks. And I want to call out the truly, like, I love the costume work in this movie. It's great. It can do no wrong. The facial prosthetic of Bert Lahr's Cowardly Lion is horrifying. It is a really unnerving thing to have to look at for that long. It sucks.
It's like the drooping cheeks on his actual jaw.
Yes.
Like, it's super bizarre. But
a wax mannequin is just dripping off the face. It's disgusting. It's an abhorrent thing. It should not be. But despite that, because when you have to get around the fact that you're an unnerving, like, just Lovecraftian nightmare of a character design, you got to be a good performance. You got to be Bert Lahr. Bert Lahr still brings it. Respect to Bert Lahr.
Super respect. Like, you're right. It's a fantastic performance. And he has two big numbers. Bert does.
Yes, he does. They know where the money is. They give that man 2 songs. That's right.
We're the king of the forest.
Still can't do it. Great. Good song.
Oh, so good. But we'll get to that in a moment. But
yeah.
The lion joins in the trek to Oz, and then they come upon one of the most infamous parts of this movie, which is the field of poppies.
Let's go!
The witch is trying to use, like, they right, she lures them there, or like something. How do they get the...
She makes the field of poppies. I noticed that this time around. That's like how ill-defined magic is. She created a field of poppies. So she was like, how do we slow them down? Well, heroin is in the national dialogue quite a lot these days in the turn of the century. So let's create a heroin field our heroes to walk through and just kind of droop over.
And it gets worse when we realize that MGM has decided that the snow that falls on them is made of, like, full-on asbestos and is poured on these actors probably multiple times for multiple takes. And just really...
Imagine if one of them actually, like, in real life got tired and took a nap in the asbestos field. Life was cheap in the 30s, Jesse.
But you just read this and you're like, MGM, what the fuck?
And the thing is, like, it was known to be dangerous at the time. It had been known for several years. And they're like, well, nothing works quite the same way. We can't have our leads catching on fire. Let's make them feel out of asbestos. But that's I thought a lot about that scene going into the movie because I'll bring it up every episode if I can. The Sopranos is a very good television show, and there's a very memorable episode where Dr. Melfi, Lorraine Bracco, has a dream involving that particular song in a memory of the poppy field scene in Wizard of Oz. And I think that's what this movie is. It's like a memory factory.
Yes,
it's so literally distinct. It's every set piece is so beautiful and so distinct and just weird enough to kind of be, because if you put a catchy tune under a nightmare, that nightmare is going to be one you have all the time, right? So the great scene, they all get super gone off heroin, but what saves them? Oh, Glinda makes it snow on the poppy field.
The asbestos snow.
That's right. So they're rescued by snow. They're not high anymore, and they keep going about their day.
Yes. And they move on, and that's when they find Oz. The big green buildings pop up over the, I don't know, fields. And there it
Emerald
is.
City, like the view of the poppy field, the yellow brick road, and Emerald City. That's maybe the most indelible shot in all of cinema. That's like, it's so beautiful. And it's what the mind might automatically go to when you mention this movie to people.
Bright, contrasting colors.
Beautiful.
Like, just awesome. So they make it to Oz, and they're greeted by the guy who's very funny.
Not nobody, not know how. I love him so much.
He's like, ring the doorbell. And then they're like, the doorbell's broken. Use the knocker.
This movie's dumb as hell. I love it so much. Yeah, they're
love
at
it.
a big green door with a rude man who loves rules. It's the best. Played by Frank Morgan. Let's give a credit where credit's due.
Yes,
Frank
let's
Morgan
do.
was like, if you're gonna have like a huckster snake oil salesman in your movie, I'm in. Like, that's one of the best character tropes. I love him. I love a flim flam artist. They're the best, and he's credited with the most characters throughout the movie.
Yeah, he plays everything, doesn't he?
Everything. Yeah, that's right. Professor Marvel, the wizard himself, the gatekeeper, the carriage driver, the guard. He gets a different credit for every character he plays in a single scene, which I think is a little bit of a shenanigans, but that's okay. Good on you, Frank Morgan. Excellent stuff.
Yes, really, really nice character work here. Which ironically, every time they request to see the wizard, they are requesting it to the actor who plays the wizard.
Yeah.
Which is really fun. And I think that's also sort of this idea that the wizard is nothing. Like there's no real power that can give you exactly what you're looking for. It all has to come from you, which I think is a really powerful message in general. But I love how, they illustrate that through these little moments.
And a valuable lesson for kids. Anyone who's trying to sell you that future, that there is a magical cure-all out there, that person's a scammer, doesn't it?
Yes.
And the entire thing is propped up by a single scammer, that single large royal scammer, just pulling the strings and everything.
And probably just a waste of your time at the end of the day, which it turns out being for these three. The thing I think is really fun, though, is as a child, I don't know that I would have been able to tell you that all of those characters were played by the same actor.
They have a similar vibe, all those guys. It's this like the old round-faced guy is back. He keeps following us everywhere. But yeah, like I don't think that's the kind of thing you realize when you're 12, 13 years old. That doesn't scan as a child. Yeah.
That's not the same person. Got it. Also, 12, 13 might be generous, Corey. I won't admit when I realized that they were played by different. We don't have to say the actual age we were at which you realized that. It may have been yesterday for me. I don't know. Who's to say? But no, you're right. The average 12 or 13-year-old mind is elsewhere other than character actors in The Wizard of Oz. You're right. True facts. So they make it here. Mm-hmm. They take this really cool horse-drawn carriage.
That changes colors every shot. It's the best.
It's a horse of a different color.
Did you read about how they accomplished that in real life?
Yes, tell us.
They used Kool-Aid crystals, a product that's weirdly been around longer than I thought it would have been.
Yeah,
but
sure.
They basically just brushed Kool-Aid crystals. That's how Dennis Rodman did his hair. That's what he did
really?
also. Yes, exactly.
Oh my
So they
gosh.
used the time-tested method of dyeing your hair with Kool-Aid to paint entire horses 3 different colors, purple, green, and yellow. And they had to shoot the horses really quickly because they kept going over to each other and licking the Kool-Aid off the other's fur.
Hey, bro, this one's orange flavor. Come on over.
Yeah, come on over. It's a subtler flavor. Like, I got black cherry. It's a little more in your face, but yeah, come on. So yeah, the Kool-Aid horses take them to probably... there are no really weak songs in this movie, but this has got to be the weakest of the bunch, right?
How does this one go?
I can't even remember. Exactly. Yeah.
It's not super memorable.
And the Wonderful Land of Oz, something like that.
Oh, and the Merry Old Land.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine song, but yeah, they get a little tune-up. They basically, they beat the mini-boss in the video game, and they get to go to the small village and re-equip their supplies. They get to sleep in the bed and everything like that. But yeah, the Tin Man gets a polish.
I am literally just thinking
Go
about
ahead.
I'm thinking about this song more. This song is literally like, ha, 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 ho, 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 in the Merry Old Land of Oz.
Exactly.
Triddly-dee and tra-la-la. Like, that is the song.
It's extremely dumb, and it's great because it's just like a backing track to watch the Cowardly Lion get his hair done, get a blowout. Yeah. But they all get treated really nice and pretty and fancy in the Merry Old Land of Oz, and then they're told that are they told by the wizard that the wizard will not help them until they've dispatched with the other witch?
No, they're told by the last remaining person who is also the wizard that the wizard he won't see you now. He's just like, no.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know if they say they need to get rid of some. Do they? Is that what they said?
Yeah, because they do speak to the wizard eventually. I'm not sure how they finagle their way up to him. They talk to him twice in the movie. Once when he gives them the side quest, the side mission of what do they have to collect? The broom. He asked for the broom from the Wicked Witch, and then they actually have to go out to the castle for weirdly like a really memorable set piece in certain parts, but let's go through that scene real quick. I don't know how I'm feeling about this. They go to a really cool spooky castle.
They go to a spooky castle. Then so there's a couple of things that happen, right? They get to the spooky castle. Dorothy and the Scarecrow, Lion, and Tin Man get separated. That's right. And the monkeys are at play here. These weird green marching people are at play. This is a great moment. And so let's give some credit here to Margaret Hamilton, who plays the Wicked Witch of the West. So apparently Margaret only signed on to do like 4 weeks of shooting, and she ended up doing like 9. She was there for a long time.
A really long time. Several months.
And she really committed to this character. And they really wanted a lot from her performance, and she gave it to them. But ultimately, they cut many of her scenes because she was too scary. She was too scary for the kids. They were worried that it might be too much, which is, I think, a testament to Margaret Hamilton's commitment to this character.
Yeah. And she became the archetype as well.
Yeah, like, she did, yes.
It's weird to think of, like, if you see a cartoon witch these days, they are animated in the style of her face with those prosthetics. That's what a witch looks like now. She's the template.
Yes, she is 100% the template. And she is incredible. She has done such an awesome job to create this character. It's super sad that they had to cut parts of her performance. Would have loved to have seen the scenes that didn't make it onto the movie here. But she's trying to get these shoes off of Dorothy. She can't get them off.
That's my favorite visual effect in the movie. It's a little lightning strike between her hand and the shoe. It's so cool.
Apparently it was applesauce.
Really?
Yes. Oh, no, sorry, apple juice or something like that.
That's the yellowest apple juice I've ever seen in my life.
I think they probably added an effect on there. But also, let's go even deeper into Margaret's commitment to this role. She obviously painted herself green, but there were moments, I can't remember exactly how this happened, where like a smoke screen came up, and there was actually copper in the green paint that she was wearing.
No.
And when it sort of like caught, or like a spark caught her, it burned her so severely because there's metal in this paint that she was like, she had to be treated for burns. So again, we're stacking on the injuries at this point and like how dangerous this movie was to film. And apparently one of the actors, it's one of the 3 guys who plays one of the supporting characters. He's on the books saying, like, you think this was fun? Like, people always asked him, like, well, it must have been a fun movie to film. And he's like, fun? I'll tell you, fun.
I was in the shit, Jack.
We worked really fucking hard on that movie. I don't know if I'd call it fun, though, because it was hard.
No, it sounds like an absolute nightmare. And Margaret Hamilton did a really, really cool thing, like, later on in her career, where she appeared on the Mr. Rogers show. Did you hear about this?
Yes.
And she, in an effort, because Mr. Rogers is about like making kids less scared of the world, making them feel more in control of their bodies and their experiences, and she appeared to show them that the scary things in movies aren't real. And what she did was kindly talk them through the process of her applying the witch makeup and changing her voice and teach them how to do that and stuff. And it's so lovely. Margaret Hamilton, by all accounts, was like a complete mensch and lovely, and gave one of the most iconic villain performances in cinema. She's great.
Of all time. Yes, really great performance here. And ultimately, so then on the side, like the lion, I almost said the lion, the witch, and the wardrobe.
That's
but
right.
What in fact what I meant was the lion, the scarecrow, and the Tin Man are all literally climbing the rocks outside of the castle to get to this place where Dorothy is. They need
she got kidnapped. That's right. Yeah, Dorothy got kidnapped.
Yeah. So they have to rescue her. And there's this great moment where they're all like, all right, Cowardly Lion, you're going to get her back. We're all going to get her back. And the little green dudes are sneaking up behind him. And there's a little scuffle and a skirmish, and they come back up in the costumes, which is hilarious and amazing.
It's the best. Another kid movie trope. If you knock out the guards and steal their uniform, ooh, I'm in the mood. Let's go.
Nailed it. So they sneak in, and they get to Dorothy, who's basically like being tormented by this witch who's now like, I'm going to kill you at the end of this timer because
terrifying
I can't take...
red sand hourglass. Yeah.
I can't take the shoes off of you. You have to die for me to take them. And so I can't remember exactly the whole sequence here, but
the Tin Man comes and uses the axe to cut down the door, and she escapes. I think if she's in the room when the hourglass runs out, she dies, and from magic, and then the shoes aren't hers anymore.
And then, so Tin Man knocks down the door. Scarecrow like steps in front of her when Witch is like moving a flaming broom towards her. Toto was threatened death as well.
Toto is constantly always dying. Constantly.
Like, almost always dead.
That little guy, that poor little... And he's the best punchline in the movie because at the end of every scene, you remember, oh, there's a fucking dog. And then sure enough, he comes behind the rest of the crew like, I'm still here, dudes. Hey.
Hey. And so then, what happens now? So Dorothy picks up a bucket of water to try and put out the fire on the Scarecrow's arm, and turns out witches die when you throw water on them. So got her. And then we celebrate death again because all of the guards are like, you did it! Hail Dorothy!
We hated her too! She sucked!
Hail Dorothy!
And it suggests, because like they're green like the witch was, so it suggests a race of people who have been held captive by their one member of their village who attained magic at a certain point, and she's just been terrorizing them the whole time. But yeah, they rescue Dorothy, and that's the big thing. They kill the witch. The Wicked Witch is dead, and they go back to receive their gifts.
And turns out the wizard is a fake, and he doesn't actually have gifts for them. But he sort of makes up some things. And I think like this is something that kind of parents do also. Like they kind of make up a thing to make you feel like you've earned something, like you have achieved a status in something. And so
if you convince a kid, like it's the thing, if their kid falls down and they scrape their knee, if you freak out, they're going to start crying. But if you play it cool, they probably won't. And the modern parallel for that, Jesse, I'll have you recall the eternal classic Space Jam, where they're facing off against the Monstars in the big basketball game, and they don't think they can do it. But Michael brings out his tank of basically Gatorade, but calls it his special stuff. And they drink the special stuff, and they have the courage to go out there and beat the Monstars, thereby saving Michael Jordan's eternal soul and allowing him to return to the Lynx with his buddies Bill Murray and Larry Bird.
Yes!
That's right.
That's exactly this moment.
So they return to Oz, they beat the Monstars in a game of hoops, and that's it.
Gosh.
No, they all give the wizard uses his gift of like flimflammery and bullshit to make up stories surrounding the special items he's given each of them. This is a diploma in thinkology for the Scarecrow. This is a special heart for the Tin Man, and this is of course like the Iron Cross for bravery for the Cowardly Lion.
Which they have all already shown these qualities, but needed the validation of this moment to acknowledge that in themselves. And I think there is a moment where they're saying goodbye to Dorothy as she's about to embark on her adventure with the wizard on a balloon. Which again, Toto messes this up for her, man. Toto sees this cat in the crowd and is like, "Ooh, gotta go check out the cat."
I rewound that a few times because the single shot. Okay, let's see if it's for the same reason, because the single shot of what brings Toto out of the balloon is a woman holding a Siamese cat, and that still image. I'm going to think about, it's going to be the last thing I think about before I die. That still image of the woman with like the unnaturally like red cheek makeup and that beautiful cat, just like this beautiful little perfect tableau. The pieta of this woman and her cat is so beautiful.
Yep.
I keep rewinding it over and over. It's so gorgeous.
So the reason why I rewound is because I could not remember why Toto messes this up for her. And I was like, and then I think like I turned my head the moment that happened, and I rewound, and I was like, wait, what? And then for the same reason did it again because I was like, whoa, what is that? I don't remember that at all. It was not a very like memorable moment for a small child, but like in this adult rewatch, I was like, damn, okay.
I gotta get to the bottom of this.
Here. Yeah.
That's I don't think there's a name for that disease, but rewinding something you're watching 30 seconds because you missed something important and then picking up your phone about 10 seconds into the rewatch.
And you missed it
again. I also suffer from that disease, Jesse.
Yes, I do too. I do too, very much so. I also ruin things for my husband a lot because I'll just start talking and then he'll rewind about 2 minutes and I'm like, sorry. Anyways.
Imagine talking over the tornado at the very beginning of this movie. Like I was looking at TikTok when the tornado came, and now everything's in color, and I have no idea what the hell's going on.
Wait, what happened? It's so good. And so the wizard, goes off somewhere on his adventures without her.
That's right.
And she's got to find another way. But luckily, the pink bubble goddess returns. Glinda's back.
And her perfect, joyful rictus of a face informs her that she's had what she needs all along, Jesse.
They've been right there all along. And she clicks her heels and says, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. And ends up back on the farm in KC.
The bustling metropolis of Kansas City. She's back.
Yeah, it's very sweet. It's a nice
she's
moment.
home. She gets to reconnect with Uncle Henry and Auntie M, and inform everyone except those two that they were all in her dream. And it was
they were not there.
They didn't make it in. Yeah. They didn't make the cut. But no, we get a really beautiful, tender scene where everybody from the play comes out and talks to the main character again. and you were there, and you too.
I gotta give my props to Uncle Henry here because he doesn't get enough love. Played by Charlie Grapewin.
Yeah.
So there's this great moment where she's like, "No, you're saying this was a dream. Everyone is telling me this was a dream, but this really happened."
Right.
And at one point, Uncle Henry was like, "We believe you." And nobody else has said that this whole time, but he's like, we believe you.
Uncle Henry's ride or die. Uncle Henry is an extremely good dude.
Yes. Yeah. And Auntie M, played by Clara Blondick, is also incredible. She does have a moment in Oz. She's not actually there, but she's appears in the crystal ball to torment Dorothy.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And she also quick point on Auntie M. When Miss Gulch, the mean neighbor, comes over and complains about having been bitten by Toto, probably erroneously, and demands the death of the dog, Auntie M goes from, "We will never surrender this dog. I don't care what happened to you. You're not getting our damn dog and killing the dog," to, "Well, now that you bring the law into it, well, she's got a point. Dorothy, give it up. Give it up. Auntie M, stand up for yourself. The cops aren't coming to get your dog from you."
But then when she leaves, she gets her with a zinger like, "Hey, I'm a Christian woman, so I'm not going to tell you the word that I'm actually thinking in my head, but I just think you're awful." And she leaves the room, and Uncle Henry is just left there with Miss Gulch,
what did they talk about? Crazy weather we're having, huh?
Exactly.
And as someone who grew up in the Midwest and the South, I'm not going to say what I thought in that moment because I'm a good Christian woman. Like, that's a very common storytelling trope. A lot of Southern women want to say a rude word and refrain.
Good for them.
So there we have it. Weird place to end it, but that's Wizard of Oz.
Goddamn
good movie. Thank you so much
for
giving me an excuse to watch this. A couple pickup points I wanted to address real quick because you could talk about every frame in this movie, and there's something to call out as being really beautiful or historic or impactful. I think all modern comedy to this day is the joke of the cowardly lion running away from the wizard and jumping out the window. It's so funny, dude. It's so funny. Him just losing his mind and scampering and jumping straight through the window. That is The Simpsons. That's Family Guy. That's all of modern Twitter. It's the best. It's so,
great.
So funny.
I love it. What are some others?
Well, let's see. Excellent work by Toto. Great. Oh, you know what? Would you like to spend some time discussing our heroine, Judy Garland?
Oh, we should probably talk about this iconic woman for a moment.
She's this movie doesn't work without her. She's miraculous in this movie, and it's the kind of thing where like it's so solid and the performance is so magical and so beautiful, and so much of like the drama rests on this 16-year-old girl's face, who had gone through so much at this point in her career and would go on to have one of the most storied Hollywood careers of all time,
and like Hollywood demises as well. You know?
Absolutely, like we're seeing a pre-tragedy kind of play out.
Yeah.
So Judy Garland, 16 at the time of filming. Reading bad reviews of The Wizard of Oz is a real trip and really hilarious. I highly recommend you look some of those up. But that she was like, a lot of people had a problem with her being that age and playing like significantly younger. But to do so, they had to put her in a bodice. She had to wear like a really tight corset the entire time to appear flat chested, whatever. But I think that's one of the reasons we get her singing style and her speaking style, which is kind of breathless at all times. It's like kind of a high whisper whenever she's speaking to somebody. And there's a like, it's not worth her having to feel that kind of discomfort to get that for the movie, but something really works about it. Happy accident. But no, she's tremendous in the movie. And it's the kind of acting we don't get any longer. It's a kind of singing style that has fallen out of favor. But every time it cuts to just this angel of a woman in this story, you're like, I want everything good in the world for her. She's so lovely in this.
Yeah, it's really wonderful, and she does an absolutely incredible job throughout. And even that last moment we talked about at the very beginning of this movie, we're in a movie now, of this podcast, where she's saying like, you all were here all along, and there's really no place like home.
God damn.
It's just so good. The acting is so good.
Sometimes the subtlety that has become like kind of like the way to go these days. Like there's not a lot of over the top acting these days, and if it is, it's on purpose. It's Nicolas Cage or something like that. You know, it's for an effect, but it's a completely different one than what we're getting here. And if you need a last line of the movie to hit and reaffirm the themes of the movie, cutting to her saying that with the last bit of breath left in her lungs, there's no place like home, and then fucking credits, let's go, get out of the theater, live the rest of your life. Man, that's good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a great movie. It's a classic. It will forever be part of the cinematic history of cinema.
That's the movies. An argument could be made that like this is the most influential movie of all time, because like every line in this movie, you've quoted it before. It's made its way into everyday speech. They're like lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, we're off to see the wizard.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
I mean, let's go with the classic. Absolutely, like this is the most quoted thing that's ever been made, and it like a deeply like. I was reading a bunch of stuff around watching this movie because I can't just look at the screen while I'm doing it. But like Mark Hamill based his role in Luke Skywalker on Dorothy. Like it's the same story, and it's like an argument could be made that this is like an eternal fairy tale structure. And of course, like the last movie we covered on this podcast was Spirited Away, which would not have happened without this particular movie. I'm really pleased we both had a version of this story in our top 5. By the way,
good point. I didn't even think about that.
That's pretty cool.
So great.
But like every story is this in one way or another, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's just really a great movie. If you've never seen The Wizard of Oz and you're a film buff, like you're doing something wrong. And
first
even
of all, like how did you manage it? How did you avoid it this long?
How did you actively not ever see that on television?
Why would you make that choice? Who hurt you? Who wronged you?
And then, if you're not a fan buff and or movie buff and you've just never seen it, then just go watch it.
It's on HBO right now. It's
hour
always
and
somewhere.
a half and spend some time with these lovely
tight
characters.
90 movie. It's a tight 90. This movie.
It's 90.
Man, that's maybe the best part of this damn thing. It just flies. It's just like it's over before you know it. It's been lovely the entire time.
It's a memory factory. Go make some.
So I think next time we come back, very different film experience. Not to like slam the iron doors on this whole thing, all right?
Okay.
But we'll be experiencing another fairy tale of sorts. The next movie we'll be covering is my number 4 pick, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Jessie has not seen this movie before. Jessie is allergic to horror movies. I'm very excited for her to see this. I almost wish we could watch this one together. I think that would be really special. We can. We can make that happen, right?
Yeah.
So the next episode you hear from us, we'll be back with The Shining, maybe with a special guest. I'm negotiating for a return of the MVP of this podcast. We'll reveal that later.
Yes.
But yeah, I guess any other spare thoughts on The Wizard of Oz or the magic of cinema, Jessie?
There's no place like home.